I don't know who you think you are, but you need to understand something. Everything under that roof is mine. And when Julian Blake raised concerns about the self-locking door leading to what would be Miss Stark's apartment, the defendant responded that it would be useful in case she ever had to lock something away. The evidence today will show that the thing Cameron Aubrey ultimately locked away was Lynn Stark. On November 2nd, the day Lynn Stark began her job at Taste of Tantera, right off the bat, the defendant demanded that Lynn give her Lynn's passport and visa. The evidence will show that Miss Stark never got these documents back. Now, on that very same day, Miss Stark moved into her apartment, a dark, isolated room with bars on its windows and that smelled of mildew. A room that human trafficking expert Dana Greyjoy compared to a furnished prison cell. Now, the evidence will show that in the following months, Miss Stark's situation only became more dire and the defendant only became more abusive. Miss Stark was compelled to work 90 hours per week with virtually no breaks for a fraction of the minimum wage. Nor was she free to leave. You will hear that when the defendant requested time off to visit her dying sister and finally asked the defendant to return her visa and passport, the defendant became furious and denied both requests. Upset that she was denied the right to see her ailing sister, Miss Stark left the room and went upstairs towards her apartment. You will hear that the defendant became so enraged by this simple act of defiance that she slammed the self-locking door on Miss Stark, yelling, "You better get comfortable in here. It's going to be a while before you go anywhere." The next morning, March 10th, while Lynn Stark was sobbing and banging on the door to be let out, the defendant went about her morning with ease, eventually unlocking the door with a laugh and a taunt to permit Miss Stark to begin another day's work. Your Honor, Cameron Aubrey was not looking to hire a cook. She was looking to hire a slave. Once all the admissible evidence has been presented today, the people will respectfully ask that you find the defendant guilty of human trafficking and false imprisonment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. Does the defendant wish to make his opening statement at this time?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed, Mr. Sanders.
This is Cameron Aubrey. She was a garment factory security guard who decided to pursue her dream of starting a Tantaran restaurant. Cameron took a chance by hiring Lynn Stark, a young Tantaran immigrant. But placed Lynn's anxiety, placed Lynn's desperation, and placed Lynn's inexperience in a fast-paced restaurant environment, and it became a recipe for disaster. Now, as the evidence will show, my client sits here wrongly accused of crimes pertaining to Lynn, human trafficking and false imprisonment. Your Honor, the prosecution must prove each charge beyond a reasonable doubt. As you will see, they will be unable to meet the heavy burden of proof. One problem in particular with the prosecution's case that we ask Your Honor to focus on tonight is the lack of evidence towards Cameron's intent. In August 2015, Cameron inherited $100,000 from her aunt and decided to open her dream restaurant. You will hear from Cameron's cousin, Devin Tyler, who will tell you that she advised Cameron to place an advertisement in a Little Tantera newspaper, an advertisement that read, "Must be willing and able to work hard in a fast-paced environment." You will hear from Frankie Lyman, a past employee of Cameron's, who will tell you that Cameron was a strict but fair boss, a caring woman who genuinely treated Lynn Stark like family. Yes, Ms. Lyman will testify to observing changes in Cameron's behavior, changes that coincided with the restaurant's opening in December. Today, Ms. Aubrey herself will testify to observing Lynn, observing that Lynn had trouble completing all her obligations once the restaurant opened. As the evidence will show, this led Cameron to go into the kitchen to remind Lynn to keep pace. Now, the prosecution may attempt to sway you to accept that Lynn's ailments were caused by the working conditions of the restaurant. However, Addison Frey, a versed human trafficking expert, will testify that this was not the case. In fact, the evidence will show that it was Lynn's anxiety and desperation with this new and daunting occupation which led to her ailments. This tense state of employee against employer simmered for months until boiling over with Cameron's arrest on March 10, 2016. Your Honor, After evaluating the facts, there will be reason to doubt the prosecution's case. The evidence will show that placing Lynn Stark in a fast-paced restaurant environment was a recipe for disaster. In light of the evidence to be presented tonight, Your Honor, the defense is confident you will find Cameron Aubrey not guilty on both counts. Thank you.
Mr. Santos? Mr. Marsh, are you ready to call your first witness?